Perhaps you heard a story in the news about yet another sculpture that has been censored because of its subject matter. My name is Tim Holmes. I'm a sculptor, and today I want to just talk to you a little bit about a good way for us to think about such things. It seems like every couple of weeks there's a story like this that pops up in the news, that some work of art has irritated somebody and it's been censored, usually because of sexual connotations. Here's a good example. Now here's a sculpture of a priest figure offering a loaf of bread to a little boy who's reaching out to grab it. Some would choose to see a loaf of bread being offered by the priest, and some would no doubt choose to see something else. Now some people might say that this is an image condemning that kind of behavior because it's bringing it out in the open. Other people might say it's an image that condones that kind of behavior by making us think about it. I would say because those two meanings are inherent in the work, that it's a very legitimate artwork for us to deal with, because the question is, of course, what is appropriate? Another way to think about this is to realize that censorship of an artwork, essentially in a free society, takes a certain subject off the table. It says, here is something that nobody can talk about. And I would say that that's never an appropriate response. Of course there are things that make us uncomfortable, but we should be able, as moral individuals, to be able to talk about anything, even if it makes us uncomfortable. Now another thing that comes up is maybe the artist was too naive to understand the implications of what he was doing, he or she. And although that may be the case, it really doesn't make any difference, because I would suggest it is not the artist who owns the meaning of the work. It is we, the viewers, who get to participate in determining what the meaning is. And it's our responsibility. Now, there are times when sometimes you want to protect young children, for instance, from encountering certain kinds of images, and I think that's a different discussion. But I don't think it's ever appropriate in a democratic society for adults to determine for somebody else what is appropriate and inappropriate to talk about. If we are taking responsibility for being moral creatures, we have to be able to look at the artwork and say, this makes me feel a certain way for certain reasons. Now I want to reiterate the point that art is always a question. If it's not a question, it's called propaganda, if the artist is actually trying to tell you what to think. But I would suggest that's never the case with art. Art is always a question. It's a gift offered by the artist, and it's up to us to determine what we're going to do with that question. How are we going to answer that question? So of course certain things make us feel uncomfortable. Macbeth is full of murder. That makes us feel uncomfortable. But the question is being asked is, how do we deal with feelings of retribution? This is a human experience that is very valid, and it applies to all of us. And so next time you see an artwork like this that you hear about has been censored, take a look at it and ask yourself, okay, what are the things that I feel about this, and what is my answer to the question that this poses? Thanks for listening. Click on the links below if you want to participate in more of these conversations, and I'd love to hear what you think.